the ability to articulate the feelings. All I can really describe it as is that I felt like a stranger, even among my family. I felt like I came back to this world, to the U.S., and people had no idea. No one had any clue. And you watch the news, and it doesn't even come close to representing what's happening on the ground. It doesn't even come close to capturing the terror on the people's faces that were occupying. You know, these people who had nothing to do with 9/11. Iraqis who had nothing to do with the weapons of mass destruction or anything like that. And I just was really out of touch, and I kind of became a recluse. I've always been very socially outgoing, and always hang out, always had friends, and I became really withdrawn. And I would only go to work. I got a job at Lowe's where I grew home improvement, and I would go to work, and I would come home, and I would just like sit in my room. I'd watch TV, read, whatever. And my parents didn't really understand what was happening either. It's a funny thing when you go to war and you can communicate by email and stuff like that. But I always tried to keep my parents out of the loop, as much out of the loop as possible. They're already worrying about you, and you don't want them to know that what's happening around you and all that. So my parents had this perception that I went and sat around and ate ice cream for 6 months. And so when I came back, and I didn't really know how to process what my experience, I had no one to talk to. I went through the VA system, and they kind of just shoveled me right along at that point in time. And I became very isolated. And this really culminated one night when I came home from work, and I had to cross through the living room to get to my room. And my dad said, now just to give you an understanding, my dad's one of those really tough dads. And the kind of dad that could beat everyone's dad up, kind of thing. He could beat up everybody else's dad. My dad. Very, very tough. And even after war, I came back with the fear of God and Dad in me. So Dad says, get over here, boy, and I walk over, and he said, you better knock that chip off your shoulder before I knock it off for you. And it was at that time I realized that my family and my folks, they just didn't understand what I was kind of struggling with. And I went in my room, and I said the only thing I could muster was, I don't have a chip on my shoulder, and I said it through tears, which I'm not a crier. I mean, look at me, I'm pretty tough. I'm not a crier. It's not what we do. But I, go in my room. My mom follows me, and she just sits next to me and says, "Matt, tell us what's wrong. We know something's going on. Talk to us. What happened? What's going on with you? Is it your girlfriend? Is it this? Is it that?" And I couldn't bring myself to have this conversation with my mother. The things that I talked to you about, I still have not talked to my own family about, because it's just too hard. The words don't come. And I think it really comes down to the simple fact that you can't tell your mother what you've done in war and still be the same person. You just can't. So I've continued to kind of keep my family in this bubble, and my